Larry Goldberg is here with me as we do once a month when Cathie Wood puts out her very detailed analysis of the economy. Larry and I get together. Larry has started becoming very creative the last few months. Thank you, Larry, for all the work you do to put the show together, and really does it a little differently than Cathie, still taking into consideration her analysis. But today's is very colorful and very interesting. I've already seen it. So, Larry, I do have one thought though before we start.
Go ahead.
All right. There is a lot of extremes in the economy right now, and
Yeah.
people who are playing on X, people who are paying any attention on X, are seeing a bunch of different um, economists, that are analysts, or whatever they want to call themselves, who are using these extremes, I think, in order to gin up clicks. And also maybe they're selling something. I always feel like they're selling something because they're putting out
Yeah.
these extremes without any nuance, without any counters. Just, oh my gosh, the housing is collapsing, or oh my gosh, the S&P is so high it's going to crash.
hmm hmm
The extremes make sense, Larry, because we are in an extreme moment. And without getting into massive, massive details of that, we have 50% of the wealth being owned by people over 55. We have most of the spending being done, the actual retail spending being done by people over 55. We have mass out migration after having just had mass in migration. And we're talking about a difference of maybe 4 million a year compared to last year. That's over 1% of the entire population uh, difference because of out migration compared to in migration. And we have AI as an accelerator, unlike unlike nothing we've ever seen before. So it's not surprising that all of these massive changes in demographics and in technology are creating extremes. Now, does that mean that these extremes are not worthy of looking at? No, I think we absolutely need to look at these extremes, but I think we need to look at them in terms of these massive shifts, so that there's a nuanced approach as opposed to, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world.
Well, there's another end of world scenario that is pervading, all these comments, all these public postings, and that is we reached a point of extremes in politics as well.
Yes.
So the two play into each other. So, when the Republicans are in power, or have the presidency, then the Democrats are crying the end of the world. When the Democrats are in power, the Republicans are crying end of the world. And it's not even the Republicans versus the Democrats. It's really, at this point, it's left versus right. The gloves are off. It's truly a left versus right situation. And the guys in the middle, are being festooned with these end of the world scenarios. So there's a couple of aspects to the end of the world scenario.
Yeah, so all of this, of course, impacts the stock market, all impacts the way people are optimistic or not optimistic about the future. But I'm just suggesting to everybody to watch the extreme comments, try to figure out what the nuances are, make sure that you're not just trying to be clickbait, or that it's not somebody trying to sell you something,
Yeah.
just trying to get you into their environment, and not to be terribly concerned at this point, I don't think, about all of the kind of wild
End of
chaos
world,
that's happening.
end of world scenarios.
Probably
I'd,
not the end of the world.
I'd also add one more thing, and this reflects somewhat on what on Cathie's analysis this week. She's just done a world tour. I mean, she's just been to Europe,
China.
the
Yeah.
East, and so on. And what she remarks on particularly is how people outside the US is viewing the US in a very negative light. Some think, some because of political issues, others because of, I would say, economic considerations that, they're reading these end of the world scenarios from people that have been in power. And so they're actually imbibing this. And of course, there's this Trump derangement syndrome, which is as strong in many parts of the world as it is or stronger in many parts of the world than it is in the United States. So I think there's that aspect to it as well. So it's worth commenting on, and I think your point is well made.
Yeah, right now, I would say just to put maybe a final cap on that is that what Cathie is hearing it's interesting. It is resulting in somehow more money coming in from foreigners with regard to equities, but less money coming in with regard to the bonds, more money coming in with regard to real estate. So
That's true.
there's, so there's a kind of a funny, do love-hate situation going on? I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Shall we look at the slides?
Yeah, so the slides are an attempt, in this case, to I just share screen. It's an attempt to distill down what Cathie has been pointing out to us and teaching us. So let's see. Page windows, share, and then I can show full screen. You should be about to see full screen. Slideshow, there you go. And do you have, is it shared now?
It is shared, and I think that is the first slide.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
good. Wasn't that well prepared today. Okay. So this slide kind of tries to encapsulate thematically what Cathie's been saying. She says we've been in a rolling recession. And just to explain, the real GDP growth up to Q1 2025 is what we have already announced. Everything from Q1 2025 is really the projection based upon what Cathie showed us from a historical point of view and what she's projecting forward. Does that make sense?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the real GDP growth we see is just at what she thinks is at the transition point. It's pretty poor right now, but she thinks it's on its way up.
Mm-hmm.
And for various reasons that we learn from her, or that she is advocating, is going to reach the almost unprecedented levels of 7%, of almost 7% in real GDP growth, because of innovation and what she sees as the coming growth of productivity resulting. And here is the productivity growth she is forecasting, while inflation will obviously fall, and it may even reach less than 1%, which is getting dangerously close to deflation. Although Cathie has taught us that deflation in times of immense productivity growth and because of because of innovation could well reach deflationary levels, and that's good deflation. That's not bad deflation. Just as you can theoretically have good inflation. And she points out that in the late 19th century we had deflation, but we had massive growth at the same time. And that was because of the Second Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, we would never complain that we can now buy a 80-inch television for $700, where that 80-inch television would have been $1 million just 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's really illustrating the point quite graphically. But can I comment on this? I I think, I mean, far be it for me to say Cathie's wrong. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm just saying that, like most of us, or most economists, and like most of us, we tend to compress time scales in our forecasts.
Mhm.
My own sense of it is that it's going to take longer. That's my sense of it.
Right.
I really don't think we can. When I look back at the revolutions that I have lived through, and it was the original computer revolution, the IBM 360,
Hmm.
which was the first, broadly based, widely available, industrial strength
Hmm.
computer, uh, which was supposed to only sell 4 or 5 copies and sold, 4 or 5 thousand. Um, and then the second revolution I experienced was the PC revolution.
Hmm.
And the third revolution I experienced was the internet revolution. And the fourth one is the one that we're currently going through, which is the AI revolution. The AI and this revolution may come faster than previous revolutions, may be more profound than previous revolutions. But when I look back at the Second Industrial Revolution and the history of that, which I've studied now in great detail, um, as a result of these thoughts, I just think that there's many a slip twixt cup and lip, and and everything takes longer than you expect, and the real benefits seem to become concrete, after the revolution happens, not within the revolution, if that makes sense.
Well, sure, Larry. I think I've talked about this a lot on this channel is
Mhm.
because you may remember that just previous to this uh, 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 time in my life where I'm now some kind of a YouTuber or something, my previous employment or my previous career was as a marketing consultant, and I work with over 400 small businesses. And during that time, meeting with those 400 small businesses and seeing where they were, many of them were still living in pre-1990s when it came to internet, when it came to use of the website, when it came to
Right,
understanding Google, Google my place at my business. They were just, years and years and years, decades behind. So,
right.
so there's a bunch of folks that will be early adopters, and a lot of those are the biggest companies. There's a lot of folks that will be late adopters, and some of those will even be the bigger companies. We see them going out of business, in each one of these times that we go through these revolutions. We see companies that don't keep up, that go away, big companies. Sears comes to mind. Kmart comes to mind. So we have these people that are slow adopting, people that are quickly adopting to these things. I think the beauty of the AI, which I've just been picking up really in the last couple of days, listening to some of the podcasts, the beauty of AI might be the interface. It is so easy to use. Some of the other ones, there was such a difficulty of getting into a new idea, figuring out how to do a website, figuring out how to understand Google, et cetera. There was a curve, a learning curve, and people would be resistant to the learning curve. But what we're seeing with the AI is you can start making movies 3 minutes after you plug into one of these movie channels, and so it's a lot easier. You don't have to learn a whole bunch of stuff to make it work.
That is true, but converting that to value, converting that to economic value, is going to be more difficult than it's been in the past. Because in the past, the improvements have always been analogs of what we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
I mean, the vehicle, the auto was simply four wheels instead of four legs.
Mm-hmm.
But very similar in, even the actual auto looked like a cart.
Right.
I think that the change with AI is so profound that translating it to economic value on a large on a global scale, or a national scale, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is a problem with a different order of difficulty, with a much higher level of difficulty. But I may be wrong, and it's possible that in 5, 6 quarters or 7 quarters we could reach these dizzying heights. I suspect we won't, though, and time will tell. Cathie may be right.
And I think,
She's probably more likely to be right than I am. So,
and I also think we could also say, Larry, that it's okay.
yeah,
You only have
yeah,
a 4% growth instead of 7% growth. That'll be just fine.
yeah. I agree. I agree. I think the 7% growth will come.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be later, and a 4 or 5 and 6% growth as we get into that stride will be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, this is where we get to, technology-driven cost reductions. Same graphic. I'm using the same graphic, but I'm just talking about the deflationary forces. Technology-driven cost reductions creating powerful deflationary pressures across the economy, and core PCE will drop dramatically. Technology costs are falling 30% annually. Actually, they may even be falling faster. It's just we
Yes.
can't replace the equipment fast enough.
Right.
Energy efficiency, renewable costs are down 85% since 2010. Automation impacts, obviously, and we're seeing it. We're beginning to see it, and I think we're going to be shocked by the impact on automation in some industries. And in particular, and Cathie takes a lot of pain to explain this, that in particular with the government now allowing write-offs of buildings, and 100% write-off of industrial buildings, and a very dramatic speed up in and that's for at least that's for a period of time, but an accelerated write-off of plant and equipment, and that's permanent.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to change the manufacturing calculus dramatically for a long time to come, and it's going to have a huge impact.
Ireland dropped their effective corporate tax rate to 12%.
Yeah, I think I've got a slide that talks about that.
Well, you do. And when Ireland did that, in about 10 years, they went from being a backwater country that nobody was paying any attention to being the wealthiest per capita company in the world in like a decade. So the fact that the United States is now going to be at 10%, according to Cathie, 10% effective tax rate, uh, that's going to create capital coming into the United States in droves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So now turning to fiscal policy, here we look at the federal deficit as a percentage of GDP, and we see federal debt as a percentage of GDP. So we see that federal debt now has exceeded exceeded I'm just going to make sure I'm reading it right. Federal debt as a percentage of GDP hit the 100% mark, some time ago, apparently.
Yes, it's been over 100% for a while.
Wow, yeah. And the federal deficit as a percentage of GDP continues to fall, which is pretty good actually. Because if we look back at 2020, it was at the 15% mark, and we're saying that at 2025 it's going to be just below the 130% mark. I'm sorry, the 6%. Yeah, I can't read both sides at the same time. All
Yes.
right.
So the Bessent approach is to get us back down to 3%, and Cathie apparently is happy with that. I'd
Mhm.
like to see it go lower than 3%, the deficit being 3% of GDP. I'd love to see it go down to zero, and even negative so that we can start paying off some debt. But Cathie seems very happy with the 3% idea that Bessent is proposing, and apparently
Mhm.
I think the president is going along with. And we're
Well,
on.
just point out that as long as it continues falling, we're actually paying back some of the debt, some portion of it all the time, on a rolling basis.
Right, but we have to we have
Yeah,
to
but there's no problem if that remains stable, as long as our economy continues growing
yes.
and the debt remains at a particular. Think about a corporation and its debt.
Mhm.
It never pays off its debt 100%. There's always some portion of it that is debt.
Mhm.
Even the current portion of its payables, is debt. And so it has to have a proportion of its total balance sheet as debt. Otherwise, it would be very, very economically inefficient.
Right. We have to have a percentage that's debt, and of course, especially as the largest is the largest uh, federal government in the world, people depend on the U.S. debt as an income
Yeah.
approach. And it's a good thing. So it's a good thing. So paying it off entirely, I'm not suggesting, but paying the deficit below, getting the deficit below 3% is something else. We could be slightly or somewhat under, like we were in the 90s, where the deficit is gone, and we're paying off a little bit of the debt. That would be, I think that would be fine. I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah. So I personally don't think that debt, whether the debt is 4.5% or 3%, matters much.
Deficit, you mean deficit?
Sorry, the deficit is 4.5% or 3%. I don't think that matters much. I think what matters a lot is that is not climbing year after year.
Mhm.
And I think at a point it must stop dropping year after year. So if the debt is set to say stay at 3%, I'd be fine with that. If the
Deficit.
debt was set
Deficit.
deficit, if the deficit was set to stay at 5%, I would be comfortable with that as well, as
Mhm.
long as it's not increasing year after year.
Okay. All right.
So then the Fed funds rate, and where are we going with the Fed funds rate? Because the Fed funds rate has, you know, it it it's it actually governs all of interest rates ultimately. And monetary policy becomes very restrictive once the Fed funds rate gets, a lot more than 3%.
Okay. And Larry, just real quick, there's an error here. That 4.75 should be 4.25. It's actually 4.0 to 4.25 right now.
Oh,
So
I might have,
it was
uh,
4.25 to 4.5 before the cut, and now it's 4.0 to 4.25. It's a range, but the top of the range is 4.25.
ah, that's why I sent you the slides to check.
I know I didn't see them in time to notice this.
Okay.
Yep.
Ah, you're right. I don't know why I got that. I don't know where I got the 4.7. I must have picked it up from an older slide.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
I prepared these in such a hurry this morning
Yeah,
because,
yeah, you've got busy with weddings and stuff.
yeah, so I'm in a wedding in Florida right now. I'm looking out on a very, very pretty site. Golf course, I guess it is, with a lot of lakes. Very pretty. Oh no, no, no. I'm watching a launch, a SpaceX launch. I should
Oh,
be.
okay.
All right. So yeah, so I mean we're looking at this slide talks about the core PCE inflation, where it is to date, which is right here. This is where we think it'll be for Q2, and then where Cathie thinks it's going. This is market rate expectations. This is actual Fed funds rate. So what we're saying is that the Fed funds rate percentage is going to continue a little bit higher than the market rate expectation, which means that we're probably expecting too many cuts. But that's not new. That's been the theme of this particular Fed. And I guess it's general for the market to be more optimistic than the Fed is pessimistic, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably overall true. You and I have talked about it before, and I'll just say it again. I think that you want the Fed to be independent, but you don't want the Fed to be countering the president's ambitions.
You don't want the Fed to be political.
Yes, or even if they were just economic, you don't want the Fed in their independence to be going contrary to what the president's intentions are. I think this would be, I don't think it's ever happened before to where the Fed is actually saying, no, the president's wrong, and we're going to resist through Fed policy what the president's intentions are. And I'm not sure that's happened right now, although there does look to be some conflict between the chair and the president. I don't think they are necessarily intentionally trying to resist the president's direction, but it feels like that.
Well, President Trump would disagree with you.
Yeah, he would say they are.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
And in many respects, they are countering the president, but it may be for good intentions rather than for evil, is what you were saying.
Right.
Maybe you're right. So employment sector shifts. So as we see, manufacturing is in terrible downturn. Retail is in a downturn. Even financial services are mildly down. They're going to go dramatically more down if AI has anything to say about it. Healthcare, is up. Technology is booming, and education is down. But I mean, I don't want to get onto my high horse about education right now. So, dramatic shift in labor market composition as AI and automation reshapes workforce. And most importantly is this 15% tech sector growth, job growth. And it's interesting because even though it's a 15% job growth, there's now stories in Silicon Valley about how traditional software programmers are finding it difficult to get, these high-paying jobs unless they're doing AI, exclusively AI or pure AI.
Yeah, so I think what we're hearing, okay, so this is like an entire show. I would recommend that people put in their order as soon as they can, as soon as we make them available for our new AI book. And we go into so much detail about these jobs, about the future of jobs. There is going to be a massive shift, but we've seen these massive shifts before. I just don't think people should get too worried yet. There was no shift like the shift from agriculture to manufacturing that took place between the 80s, the 1880s and 1910. There was almost no shift like the elimination of secretaries and in the 70s. So there's been lots and lots of shifts before where we had the number one employment sector completely eliminated in a short time. But we found other things for those folks to do.
Yeah, so downtown Cary, where I live, Cary, North Carolina, downtown, there's a plaque, one of these historical plaques. And this historical marker is pointing out that this is the site of what was a wagon manufacturing plant. and it's a very famous wagon manufacturing plant. Well, Kerry had a population of about 1,000 people back in the early 19th century, mid 19th century. Now there's a population of 250,000 people, but all of those wagon making jobs were lost.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, we're going to see a manufacturing decline. We've seen a manufacturing decline. I think that's going to change. I think that there's going to be an increased employment in manufacturing jobs if this Trump administration has anything to do with it.
Yeah, well, Cathie, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Cathie rightly points out that we're going to see an increase in manufacturing jobs even as it was interesting. I hadn't thought about this way. We're going to do in the United States what we have talked about all the third world countries doing over the last 30 years. We're going to leapfrog. The third world countries didn't have to put in the infrastructure for telephone lines and such because they went straight to cell phones. When our next manufacturing revolution that's taking place right now in the United States, we're going to go to the most modern automated manufacturing facilities in the world, and we will basically leapfrog the rest of the manufacturing resources around the world because they have built-in infrastructure, built-in cost of their production facilities that they're not going to want to tear down in order to build new.
I agree. I'm just responding to Bradford trying to reach me. Sorry, guys.
Hey, Bradford.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a very exciting period. But I'll allude to the same thing I said at the beginning of the show, and that is, yes, it's going to be a very exciting period, but I'm not sure things are going to happen as quickly as, we imagine they're going to happen.
Sure.
Again, it's just the same story as always. Everything's going to happen, but it's not quite going to happen in the speed that you think it's going to happen.
Right.
This time could be different.
Sure.
It's possible.
It won't be. People will stick to their old ways, believe me.
Yeah. Well, this cycle actually speaks to that very issue. This is a very good slide, actually. It speaks to this very issue. This is a slide prepared from some of Cathie's slides from earlier this year. And this is showing what we call the S-curves. The S-curve of growth of an economy, or S-curves of growth of a technology. And this shows you the growth of electricity in the 1900s, the growth of the telephone industry back in the 1920s. This shows you the growth of the internet in the 1990s. And you can see that even though these are incredibly vertical S-curves, that in the 1990s and AI in the 2000s are showing indications that the growth rate is even higher than exponential.
Yeah.
And they don't have this flattish, these S-curves always start relatively flat and then they go exponential. I mean, exponential starts very flat and then goes very steep. Yeah, they seem to go, vertical almost right away.
No real S here.
No S, yeah. It's kind of like what would that be? A J? I don't even know what you'd call that curve. But I'll tell you something else. I don't think this even tells the whole story. Because if you take Grok started much later than the other guys and is now higher than the other guys. So the curve is even steeper than currently appears.
Larry, you and I both listen to BG2. We listen to Peter Diamandis and his podcast,
Right.
WTF, I guess he calls it. We have the Moonshot. We listen to the All In podcasts. All of these guys, to a certain extent, I've realized over the last couple of weeks, they're all living in kind of a bubble. you and I are a little bit in that bubble, but we're still got maybe our feet a little more on the ground than they do. The acceleration,
I'm trying to picture how we get out. Yeah, but okay, I
but
get it.
the exponentiality of these changes in capabilities is actually mind-numbing. And so you listen to Alex on the WTF podcast.
Yeah,
He's their Brian Wong. He's their genius. And he sits there and he really believes that we're going to be in the singularity in 3 years, that we're going to be in this situation where the AI is going to
mhm.
be creating its own software to make itself better, um, and the will have nothing to do with it. It'll just be doing it on its own, and we will be curing all disease. We'll be curing physics. We will understand all,
Solving. We
solve,
won't cure physics. We'll.
solve physics, solve
Yeah.
math. Yeah, yeah. In 3 years.
I mean, it's more than possible. I mean, Elon has said that there is a possibility that, Grok 5 will reach us, super
AGI,
intelligence. Yeah. No, SGI.
SGI by next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty sobering, pretty sobering. But I mean, we see it. We see it right now. We see these curves become, absolutely vertical.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's pretty, pretty sobering. Market indicators. I'm trying to find a spot for this. So market indicators, we have home price indexes. It's just about flatlining. We have 30-year mortgage rates starting to drop at last. Well, they've been on a long-term trend down, but I have to say one thing about
It's
these
very
interest
slow.
rates. It is slow, but they're more normal than the 1% and 2% and 3% interest rates we were enjoying during after the financial
Right.
crisis, global financial crisis. And then existing home sales are definitely getting to a bottom. Q1 20, oh, sorry, guys. Q1 2025 has shown a gradual increase. Q2 25 is up a little bit. I have to question that number. I have to revisit where these came from. I don't think we were up 3.5% in
Yeah.
Q2.
So, as you know, Larry, this is an area that I have a lot of depth of understanding, having written a couple books on it. What we're seeing right now is again an extreme that's being caused about the extremes that I started with at the beginning of the conversation. We have 45% of homeowners have no mortgage. Of the remaining 55%, half of those, 28%, have a mortgage of 3% or less. So when you've got that, so now you're talking about 60 something percent of 65% of the population have a situation where why would they move? And most of those are old, so they want to die in place. So it's very, very hard to get those homes back on the market. At the same time, you've got very late family formations taking place with the young people. And so they're not really ready for a house. And if they wanted to get a house, the prices are so high, it's very, very difficult for them to even manage the mortgage unless they've got two people paying the bill. You got, single individual, even if they're making 70, 80, $90,000 a year, it's very hard to afford a home in most places in the country. So you're sitting with this very unusual situation. But as the mortgages come down, at least those that pent up demand, and there's a lot of pent up demand. She did that chart. I don't think you included it, but I think she did a chart which showed the pent up demand right now. The interest in buying a home is at very high level. As the mortgage rates come down, I think you'll see that even with the high prices, people will be back there in the market And I think that's going to happen in the spring.
Yeah, I should probably put that curve on top of these curves. That would be interesting.
Mhm.
That would be interesting. I agree. I agree. Yeah, existing home sales year over year at minus 18% is a very sobering number. Very sobering number. I don't know. I think that I think we've got, some time to work out this problem. But we could see an upturn in the spring, I think. Well, she's got it turning around in 2025, perhaps. I've got it turning around in 2025.
Well, so there's definitely each time you get a tick down, if you get down under 6% on these mortgages, which is very likely in the next couple of months, we get down to 5.95 or something on your average mortgage for the 30 mortgage out there, you will definitely see a winter. Normally winter's the slow time for the housing market. You'll see a definite improvement in the number of people going out and buying homes.
Do you think that spring next year
Will be strong. I think we'll
will
be
be
talking
strong?
about 5.5% mortgages, and I think you'll be full on back. You'll have the housing market back in full swing.
So I'll keep my house off the market until next year. All right. So inflation components. So here we are, inflation is now below Fed's 2%. Core inflation is now below Fed's 2.2%. We're at 1.2%. How low do they want it to go, really? And we see, that the increases are coming from services, housing, and food, but goods and energy and transportation is down. And so the real question is, will housing reduce? Food definitely is unlikely to reduce much more. Services, we could see a decline.
Yeah. So the food is at only about 2% anyway right now, a little over
Mhm.
2%. And so I don't see that going up either. I don't, there's no pressure right now for it to go up. The biggest question really out there right now is wages. And she didn't talk about this at all, and I was shocked she didn't, because what we've got is we have wages still sitting year over year at about 5%.
Yeah.
Now, that's extremely good news with inflation at 2.5,
Yeah.
because that means real income is great. Real income is increasing. So that's fantastic for the average person out there.
Mm.
But that can't continue at that level, 5% per year, because that will start to create its own inflationary trend. So this is, and the question is, the question I asked myself with the S&P services PMI the other day is, if we're still increasing at 5% on labor, um, why that doesn't suggest a shortage. That doesn't suggest that, I mean, I'm sorry, that doesn't suggest we have all this excess labor. It suggests a shortage. It suggests there still is at least a mismatch, maybe, between what the labor demands are and what people have the skills to do.
Mm.
So there's something going on in that area right there that deserves a much deeper dive. How are we still getting 5% increases when people are saying that labor demand is soft?
So what you're saying is labor demand is in the sector that we can't supply.
Exactly. It seems to be, or at
And the
least,
answer to that is immigration,
well, exactly. Yes.
legal immigration. I'm talking about real immigration.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Or better skills training. And so the
yeah.
president has just agreed with Harvard in their deal because of their anti-Semitic behavior. I think they're going to pay $500 million to the federal government or something. But in addition, they're going to open trade schools. And this
Yeah.
is what we need. Right now, we need, I think it's 250,000 plumbers and electricians
Mhm.
just for the data centers.
Amazing. All right. So now market performance by sector. So we just finished inflation. Now we can talk about market performance by sector. And I see what I didn't put in is slide number of how many numbers. So I don't know when I'm going to run out of slides. All right, market performance by sector. And no surprise at all. First prize goes to technology at 17%. Second prize to healthcare, which is not good, plus consumer discretionary is a third. Financials are at a negative level with energy, industrials, and utilities in decline. And we could see the situation reverse itself.
Tom Lee
But
thinks so. Yep. Tom Lee definitely feels that those negative sectors are primed.
yeah, yeah, which would be consistent with a rollover in the indices where we see, these mid caps and these traditional industries begin to perform better.
Yep.
Well,
The most difficult one, I think, is going to be transportation. But if housing recovers,
mhm.
manufacturing recovers, that will help transportation. But I don't know if transportation ever gets back to where it was. It's going to be very difficult. I think this is going to be another one of those ones that's going to be surprising that it never actually fully recovers.
Mm. Well, it could be like the horse and buggy story,
Yes. Yep.
It's bottom line. So, sector performance outlook. No surprise, AI and robotics are top of the pops. Clean energy, healthcare tech, cybersecurity. So, Cathie is forecasting a 35% AI and robotics sector forecast of growth. And so that's where the money's going. So no surprise there, right?
Yeah. 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 And I think clean energy, she might have wanted to put clean energy slash nuclear because a huge amount of money
I
going.
think nuclear is considered clean energy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah, and cybersecurity, traditional retail, not too good. Legacy manufacturing, even worse, and commercial real estate in the dumpster.
Yeah, it's very hard to imagine commercial real estate coming back, although manufacturing facilities, I think, do count under commercial real estate. So that would be an area that we should see a pretty dramatic increase in it.
One of my best investments this year is a counter called RMP.
Ah, you're finally going to tell us one, huh?
I mean, it may be a little late
A
now.
little late now. Okay.
RMP builds buildings.
Okay. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
build industrial buildings.
Yeah.
And why did I invest in RMP? You may ask.
Yeah, why did you invest in RMP?
Well, need you even ask?
Yes, I think we're obviously seeing an increase in building of industrial buildings as
Now, I
opposed to,
wonder who had the foresight to think about that.
no, how would that happen, Larry?
I didn't. So, that really is the end of our story. I don't know if that all made sense, and you know, but that was our story, and we're sticking to, and well, that was Cathie's story, I think, largely with our comments.
Yeah, yeah, I think if you just hit stop share, Larry, that'll be the easiest way to
Yeah,
get
I know. I'm looking for the stop share flag, and I'm not seeing it.
top maybe or something. I don't know.
Oh, there it is. It was
Oh,
hidden.
good. There we go.
Yeah, I'm using my laptop in a hotel room, so I'm not operating on all four cylinders.
Can we talk about cylinders anymore?
No, we
Oh,
can't.
we're in a new age. So interestingly, I don't think Cathie mentioned robotics a few times in general, but I think that this is the area that I think is again listening to all these different podcasts recently. It's all about the almost all of it is talking about the digital side of AI. And every once in a while, somebody will mention, the automated car, they'll mention Waymo, or they'll mention the fact that robots are coming. I know, I want to say I think it was the moonshots that talked a little bit about yesterday, several of the robotics companies, but the actual humanoid robot companies. But I think that's going to be the biggest deal of all in terms of the changes that Cathie's talking about. As we bring these humanoid robots on, it's going to be the biggest change agent.
Yeah, I think the biggest change agent of all is going to be AI. I think,
The digital time.
yeah, I think the AI is going to be more pervasive even than robots, because I think firstly it's going to come up faster than the robots are going to come. Robots are going to be a secondary.
It's going to take 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, the primary driver is going to be AI, and AI is going to affect so much more. But I mean, AI and robotics, it just feels almost certain that those are going to be the lead, going to lead us. And whether you consider robotaxi or, ride share, I mean, autonomous ride share, um, as just an outgrowth of AI and robotics. But those I think are going to be very transformative. But time will tell.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
2026 is going to be, I think, the time when we will be told a lot. We have apparently, just to kind of end it on a fun Tesla note, we apparently have maybe an announcement per day coming up. We we know that on tomorrow, this is Sunday, so tomorrow, Monday, we get FSD 14.
Mm, we think we're going to get FSD
Well,
14.
Elon said.
It's Elon said, but Elon's timing is sometime, from, I don't want to cast aspersions, but
Right.
he has been known to be wrong
And then there's this X
on
post,
timing.
that's out there with some kind of what looks like a wheel cover spinning around, and
It ain't no wheel cover. That's a fan cover. That's a fan turning.
it's a fan turning. Okay.
And that fan is creating negative pressure for the roadster.
Okay, you think so, you think it's going to be the Roadster on Tuesday.
Yeah, I do.
And this, of course, other people think it might be something to do with the Model Q. And so no, you're sold, you 100%
I'm
think
putting my stake in the ground. It's the
on the
roadster.
Roadster. But I would think, well, okay, we'll see. So they're going to have some kind of a demo, I guess, of whatever this is on Tuesday after the market closes. So I don't know exactly what time, but sometime on Tuesday. And then who knows what the next thing might be after that, but it's going to be quite the week.
So what do you think Tesla stock opens at? I know I very seldom talk about Tesla stock growth, but I know you itching to say.
Well, let's just say it's probably going to open higher. We'll know in a
I,
few hours.
fair bet, fair bet, fair bet.
I think maybe a lot higher. But then we have to have the payoff, right? We've got to have the videos of people using AI 14, and then we got to see what this robotaxi, I mean, I'm sorry, this Roadster. The Roadster doesn't have a fancy name, Larry. Doesn't it need like a new name, like a something out of sci-fi?
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what they do about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, be interesting.
And the Model Q can't be that far away. I mean, it's really got to happen fairly soon, I would think.
Yeah, so quite a few things are going to drop, but be interesting. We'll see. Time will tell. I
All
could
right.
be wrong. I could
Yeah.
be wrong, as always, as always.
We'll know Tuesday night. Yeah.
We will.
Larry, thanks as always for putting together that slideshow. It's a great job, and for helping people to try to. Now, by the way, as we always say, as we should, you may feel like you need to go back now and look at Cathie's original presentation.
Yeah, I've tried to distill what Cathie said, but as you've pointed out, I missed quite a few pieces, but actually she goes into much greater depth and gives a much clearer explanation than we have. We're flying at like 35,000 feet. So yeah, if anything we've said has intrigued you or interested you, or if this is important to you, go and listen to Cathie. It's well worth the hour or so.
Yeah, and coming up later today, I'll have my normal Monday morning show, which of course appears on Sunday night, where we talk about what's going to be happening next week, not only with Tesla, also the news, the Tesla news of the day. And then after that or before that, I haven't decided what, because it's football season and I never know when to put these things up on Sunday. But there will also be Grok and I had a very long conversation last night about these extremes in the economy and what do they really mean, and how does this demographic shift really play out? Be a lot of detail on that. So that'll either be,
Yeah. And Randy gave me a little preview of that, and I want to tell you it's extremely interesting. So look for that for sure.
and if you missed Bradford and Larry yesterday, I'll put that card up here. You can go back and because they're talking about luminescent.
Lumicenti.
Is there a C in there, Larry? I didn't.
No, it's an S.
It's a S.
Luma, Luma, which is illumination. It means light.
Yes.
It doesn't mean like lux is light, but this means light in terms of a light that shines rather than, light in general.
Lights that don't shine. Yeah.
Illumination. So luma, sentience.
Yes. Yes.
And so human consciousness. So we're talking about the light of human consciousness
And
how we can extend that.
Larry told me that already dozens of people have
Actually, we're in the hundreds now.
in the hundreds have contacted Larry about being part of this new project. So if you're looking for a project to be a part of, and you've got a little investable sitting on the side, and you think Larry and Bradford have a brain or two, you might want to check that one out. The card will be above. Thanks again, Larry. And to all
Thank you, Randy.
it has been great talking to you.